Welcome to today's episode of Taraweeh Truffles. We will begin in 2 minutes. We will begin in how long? 2 minutes. In the meantime, if you would like to say salam and where you're from, that would be nice. Say salam, where you're from, 2 minutes of saying salams, and then we begin. We've got Hamna, alaikum assalam. We've got Rahila, alaikum assalam. Facebook user from Houston, alaikum assalam. Los Angeles, Hamna in India. Aisha Ma'al Abrar, alaikum assalam. Rahila in Malaysia, alaikum assalam. Yes, I'm on time, somebody said. I think you're showing me the names of the people when they post. So if you want me to see your name, you're going to have to type it in because I actually can't see the name. We've got Umar from Periscope. Welcome, Umar. You know what? Let's do this. What day are we on? Taraweeh Truffles, day 19. Well, Ihsan in the Netherlands, wa alaikum assalam. Paras, going to give a lecture on the Laylatul Qadr. That's awesome, inshallah ta'ala. Good for you. I did a khutbah on Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, when the night equals 1,000. If you search for it, I'll give you some ideas. Patricia, alaikum assalam. And a bunch of other people, alaikum assalam, alaikum assalam, alaikum assalam. Do you guys think we should continue this in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, or should we stop doing these broadcasts? What do you think? My thought was we should continue on one side because this isn't like last night's Ramadan where everybody's going to the masajid and you got all that party going on. This is everybody at home and they might benefit from the reminder. On the other hand, maybe we all just need to be quiet and focus on our ibadah in the last 2 nights of Ramadan. So what do you guys think? Anyways, we'll get started and I'll read your comments later, inshallah. Let's begin. Take one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala, amma ba'd. Welcome to today's episode of Taraweeh Truffles. So today is a very special day for my papa, for my dad. And because it's a special day, I wanted to give, some nice words for my father and how, alhamdulillah, he raised me good. Inshallah ta'ala, I'm a good guy. And I'd like to share 3 points, things that I appreciated from my father growing up and how it's shaped me as an adult. So number 1 is my father taught me to pray in the masjid no matter what. So we grew up in Winnipeg, and Winnipeg is crazy cold. And there would be mornings when our car was buried in snow. Like you would come out of the house and the car, you couldn't see the car because it was encapsulated, like it's just completely covered with a snowstorm the night before. And this actually happened often in Winnipeg, freezing cold. But my father wouldn't take that as an excuse to not go to the masjid. So it's like minus 40 degrees. And he would dig the car out for like half an hour, 45 minutes before the time to go to the masjid would come. And then he'd wake me up and then he'd say, Muhammad, we're going to the masjid. And I was like, you're talking about, I must have been like 11 years old or something like that, really young, maybe even younger than that. I'm saying 11 and I think that was older. I was probably younger than that. And I'd be like, no, it's too cold outside. Can we just pray at home? And my dad would be like, no, we're going to the masjid. And we'd go to the masjid. Sometimes we're the only ones in the masjid. But that taught me that, rain or shine, we need to pray in the masjid. Alhamdulillah, as I got older, it took me a very long time to get this message through my mind and to sleep on time in this. But I never forgot that's my father's upbringing for me, and I didn't want to let that legacy down. The second thing that I really appreciate from my father is he really worked hard to push me to study Islamic knowledge. So when I was wishy-washy, lazy, this and that, my dad was like, look, you don't have a decision. You're going to go memorize Quran. That was when I was 11 years old. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll memorize the Quran. And alhamdulillah, I completed the memorization of Quran. Later on, and I was actually at a boarding school that was like 2 hours away by airplane from where I lived in Winnipeg. And I only saw my parents maybe like once or twice a year when I was like 11, 12 years old. So a big sacrifice, but my father pushed me. And later when I was in high school, and somebody encouraged my father, hey, you know what, Muhammad should go and study in Medina University. If it was up to me, I would have done nothing to go to Medina University. That's just, you know, my style. But my father did the phone calls. This was like in the early 90s. Did the phone calls, did the connections, they got interviews for me, all of these things. And I remember one day they said, you know, my high school diploma has to be signed by the Minister of Interior and Affairs of Canada. And I forget her name was Barbara McDougall. And I was like, how can I ever go to, they want the Minister of Internal Affairs or External Affairs or whatever to sign this paper. How are we going to waste her time to sign my paper? But my father, alhamdulillah, went to the Foreign Affairs Ministry in Canada. We parked outside. This is the early 90s, I'm sure. They don't let you park like that anymore. And he went in, he said, sit with the car. And he came out with Barbara McDougall's signature, the Foreign Affairs Minister. And alhamdulillah, my father said about when I would study in Medina University, he said, you know what, Muhammad, you're going to, one day, you're going to sit with these great scholars and you're going to be opening these big books of Islamic knowledge and turning the page and reading in them. And I didn't even know how to read Arabic at that time. I didn't even know Arabic actually pretty much at that time. And subhanAllah, after I graduated and I moved to the US and I got to sit with so many scholars and I remember those days being with very, you know, top tier scholars and thinking about my dad saying one day this would happen. And subhanAllah, I'd be in those meetings and just sitting quietly and I'm like, oh my God, alhamdulillah, the day has happened. And finally, the last thing that I would like to, you know, continuing on from my father's, you know, praying in the masjid, there's the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which he said, give glad tidings for the people who walk in the darknesses, meaning Fajr and Isha, give them glad tidings of complete nur on the day of resurrection. Alhamdulillah, my father's one of those people who's always walking out in the darknesses to go to the masjid. And I hope, inshallah ta'ala, I'll be able to live up to that legacy. So, alhamdulillah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good this past year, and I let my dad know, hey, I'm doing better, getting to the masjid and so on. So, special shout out for my father on this special Papa Day of his. All right, let's get into today's Taraweeh Truffle episode. Today is the 19th of Ramadan. That means the night tonight, wherever you may be, I don't know about your moon sighting, but the night is the 20th night. The last 10 nights of Ramadan actually begin on the 21st night of Ramadan. They don't actually start on the 20th night. Common misconception, they start on the 21st night. So tomorrow night is the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and you want to start worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with full focus from tomorrow night all the way till Eid, pretty much. We're supposed to seek Laylatul Qadr on the odd nights, but I just want to give you a heads up that different moon sighting committees or different places, they have their moon sighting on, they may have had a day difference. Now, Laylatul Qadr is one night, and you don't want to be the person who sleeps all night long while some other masjid in another country or down the road maybe is praying like crazy, and then the next day you find, hey, you know what, the night I was sleeping was, you know, all the signs of Laylatul Qadr showed up for that night. So you don't want that to happen. Every night of the last nights, you make your du'as and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It could be a Laylatul Qadr night. And on the odd nights, put in that extra effort as well. Idhnillah. Our verses that we're dealing with today are Surah An-Naml, verse 91 and 92. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in these verses, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, إنما أمرت أن أعبد رب هذه البلدة الذي حرمها وله كل شيء وأمرت أن أكون من المسلمين وأن أتلو القرآن فمن اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فقل إنما أنا من المنذرين. In these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, speaking about speaking to the disbelievers. This is the response of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that, they're making these claims to him and they're attacking him. And he's saying, look, this is all that I've been told to do. Innama umirtu. Verily, I've been commanded to worship the Lord of this land in which Allah has made haram, has made sacred, and the sanctuary of Mecca. Innama umirtu, verily I was commanded to worship the Lord of this land whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made haram, walahu kullu shay, and to him belongs everything. Wa umirtu, and I was commanded, and akuna min al-muslimin, and I was commanded to be of those who submit to Allah. And subhanAllah, just a side point, for those revert brothers and sisters who people are harming them, and they're like, why did you believe in God? And you've let us down, you let our family down, you let our ancestors down. These words are also, you can be saying this, that at the end of the day, this is what I've been commanded to do. Umirtu an a'buda rabba hadhihi al-baldati alladhi harramaha wa lahu kullu shay wa umirtu an akuna min al-muslimin. And God commanded me to worship him, to be of those who submit to him. وَأَنْ أَتْلُوَ الْقُرْآنِ, and God commanded me to recite the Quran. فَمَنِ اهْتَدَى, so whoever is guided, فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ, they are guided for their own benefit. That guidance comes back to them in benefiting them. وَمَنْ ضَلَّ, and for those who are fall astray or misguided, فَقُلْ, so say to them, إِنَّمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُنذِرِينَ, I am nothing more than a warner to you. I'm nothing more than a warner. So to start off, when I've gone for Hajj and led groups, a lot of people get confused by why is the Kaaba called the Haram? The Haram. Is it forbidden? So they get confused by this word. Does it really mean haram? And the answer is, actually it does. That's the same word. Haram, the Mecca is called Masjid al-Haram, the Masjid of forbiddance, because it's a sanctuary. Things are forbidden there. So things that are forbidden are no one's allowed to bring weapons into the Haram area, into Mecca, no hunting in that area, no cutting of trees, and no fighting. So the place is haram, and it gets that prohibition. The better word to translate it to in English is sanctuary. It is and sanctuary, if you see a bird sanctuary, no birds can be hunted in that area. The birds are safe. So similar concept, similar meaning to Masjid al-Haram is the safe place, sanctuary. And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to remind, it's almost it's to remind them, because these are mushrikeen in Mecca, and they have received the benefit of Mecca being a sanctuary. They've received that benefit, because nobody Haraman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't they see that we made the Haraman Amina, that's a safe place, وَيَتَخَطَّفُ النَّاسُ مِنْ حَوْلِهِمْ, even though that all around, all these other tribes are getting attacked in the night, are being pulled away, and fights going in all these other tribes, but Mecca had this sanctuary and had this protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reminding them to be thankful to Allah, the one who gave you this peace and gave you this sanctuary and gave you this good life here in Mecca. I was commanded to worship that Lord. And they recognized, God. And even though they worshipped idols, but they did recognize God. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he's the one that I've been commanded to worship. But it's not only Mecca that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has is the Lord of. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the ayah says, وَلَهُ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ, and to him belongs everything. To him belongs everything. And that reminds me of, when sometimes we go somewhere and we act in one way when we're one place, and then when we go somewhere else, we act in a different way. And it reminds me that, the Lord of one city is the Lord of the other cities as well. And the Lord of Ramadan is the Lord of Sha'ban, Shawwal, all the months, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, all the months of the year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of. And all the cities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of. Everywhere you go on earth and in the sky, in the sea, everywhere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord. وَلَهُ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ, and to him belongs everything. وَأُمِرْتُ أَنْ أَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَأَنْ أَتْلُوَ الْقُرْآنَ. So here the Prophet ﷺ says, and I was commanded to recite the Quran, tilawa. So what is meant by he was commanded to recite the Quran? So the recitation, there's 3 types. One of them is to recite the Quran to warn people, to tell them of the misguidance of their ways. Tilawatul Quran, in fact, the Sahaba, the scholars were known as qaris, people who read. As you know, like in those days, and I'm sure in many cultures as well, when somebody knows how to read, they become a knowledgeable person in places where illiteracy is rampant. So here, the Prophet commanded to recite the Quran, so that is to warn the people, to teach the people, and qira'ah of ibadah, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reciting the Quran. Sometimes we approach the Quran only from the direction of to worship Allah, which is beautiful, but we also need to learn from what the Quran is teaching. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ, won't they contemplate, won't they, think about the verses of the Quran? It is Mubarak, and we do read for worship, but we also learn for tadabbur, and we also read to take warning and to give warning, so that we don't fall into things that the Quran has forbidden. And the end of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنِ اهْتَدَى, and so whoever is guided, this guidance that they take, when you do good deeds, the good deed benefit comes back to you. The good deed benefit comes back to you, the barakah, the blessing. All of these things are commanded to be done because we're the ones who benefit from it. Whether we understand that benefit, we don't understand, we're receiving the benefit, the barakah, and the blessing of what we're doing. So فَمَنِ اهْتَدَى فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ. And so whoever is guided, the guidance is for them. It's for them. It's not for the Prophet, it's for you, that this guidance that you receive and you surrender to is for your own benefits. وَمَنْ ضَلَّ, and then this verse, وَمَنْ ضَلَّ, and whoever is misguided. And it's interesting, the verse, it doesn't continue the sentence. It says, وَمَنْ ضَلَّ, and as for the person who's misguided, then say to them, إِنَّمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُنذِرِينَ, say, I'm one of those who warns. And just a footnote about this, when it comes to the message of Islam and warning, a lot of times these days, that message of warning doesn't get said too often. So we recite nice verses, everything's nice, everything's nice, everything's nice. But then what about the warnings? And actually helping guide people to Islam and saying, you know what, these actions that are being done, they lead to not good results. And so there's a warning for those, for that disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ ضَلَّ فَقُلْ, and the big lesson for those who spread Islam, and it should be all of us, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي, spread this message of Islam, even if it's one ayah. The Prophet said, you see here that your responsibility is not the guidance of the person you're speaking to, because guidance is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're responsible. So if you try helping someone accept Islam, or maybe a Muslim to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more, or to stay away from their sins, if they don't listen, and if they don't change their ways, you're not responsible for that. And it's not something that you should grieve about or worry yourself about. Instead, you need to worry yourself, all of us, is, did I convey the message? Did I convey the message? Did I share it? Did I pass it on? That's what we need to be worried about. فَقُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُنذِرِينَ. That if they reject, then say, I'm only one of those who warns. And just kind of like an encouragement for all of you is you don't have to be the content designer, creator, like the one who makes this Islamic content and then you go around and teach it. The way that we're living these days and, you know, the technology and so on, people who share good content are very valuable and they're very important in the passing of the message. So it may be, for example, like maybe I don't need to prepare a lecture, but I can encourage you to listen to somebody else's lecture or to, and I'm not saying Islam is just listening to lectures. So there's more to that. I think that's just a default cliche, but being part of the passing on of the message and supporting and all of these good things. Allah Ta'ala Alam. I'm done. If you've got some questions, I've got about 10 minutes. If you've got questions, I'll welcome your questions. Here we got, Farzana says, I've always wondered that about Masjid al-Haram. Yes, I knew, I'm going to write it down. I thought everybody should know, but I know there's people out there who don't know that. Why is it called a Haram Masjid? Sarah says, what Qari recitation do you follow? I don't know what you mean by that. If you just mean Warsh, the standard one, that's why, that's who, I mean, that's the recitation that we recite. But if you're talking about like, who am I copying? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Thank you, Suraya. Would love to continue for the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I don't know, I'll check out all those comments afterwards. If you guys make dua for my dad, he'd appreciate it. For sure he's going to watch this video. So. %. All right, Isha, a big shout out for your 14-year-old and 13-year-old nephews, Shu'aib and Muhammad. How are you doing, Shu'aib and Muhammad? Zahra says, please, when does i'tikaf start, today or tomorrow? So I don't know if there's fatwas. I'tikaf cannot be done at home. But I think what you're talking about, when does the last 10 nights of Ramadan start? Allah Alam, from my understanding, it starts Wednesday night. It starts Wednesday night, the 21st night of Ramadan. And I would pay very close attention to the 21st night because many years I'd be praying Taraweeh and the signs of Laylatul Qadr seem to show up on like the 21st night. And every year, and then the other nights will be like really cold and stuff like that. So pay attention to the 21st night. Berivan, you just wrote me a composition. You need to summarize that question into 2 sentences. 2 sentences. Farhana says, if Eid is in lockdown, what things can we do according to Sunnah to make the most of Eid in quarantine? To be honest, you can do everything that you normally do in Eid except go outside. So taking a shower, having a breakfast meal, prayer after the sun has risen, doing the takbirs in the home, and so on. Maybe you'll organize some social online events or something like that. Physical distancing, but doesn't mean you can't be social, and maybe have an online party with friends and hop around. So things like that, a lot. For sure, making dua for those who are sick with the COVID. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them ease and grant them a complete shifa. For those who passed away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive them and accept from them. Yeah. This is the issue when I can't see who you are. I can't pick out what your question was. So you have to put your name. Is it mandatory to offer 20 rakats tarawih, or can we offer 10 and then witr? So tarawih is not mandatory. It's not mandatory 10 or 20. What's mandatory, fard, is our 5 daily prayers. So that's what's mandatory. The issue of 10 rakahs or 20 rakahs is a long, enjoyable conversation, I'm sure, in masajid. But if you're praying at home, like nobody's forced, is maybe you're in a community where they're like, you gotta pray 20, you gotta pray 20, you gotta pray 20. I think in the end, if you pray, and you're praying sincerely, inshallah ta'ala, and you're doing your best, and maybe you do 10 and then witr and stuff like that, inshallah, may Allah accept. May Allah accept. So it's not about, it's about showing up. It's about showing up. It's not about a number, but it's about showing up to your prayer and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, 10 or 20. So Nimra says, I don't have a question. May Allah bless your father. I mean, I'm so glad he sent you to Medina University. So it's interesting, just kind of like another mini story about my dad. He took me to a Quran school. This was in the late 80s, and we drove there. And after I saw the Quran school, I was like, no, I'm not going here. There's no way I'm going. And I was like 11 years old. And then when I came back to my city, and this, when we drove to the Islamic school, it was like 24-hour driving. 24-hour, Canada is a big country, 24 hours of driving. We got home, and then I was trying to tell my parents, look, you know what, I don't want to go to that school. I can just, get some software. There's this Alim program. Learn about Islam. I can do it on my own with my computer. So even in those days, in the late 80s, when there wasn't internet, I still wanted to pretend like I could study all of this at home on my computer. Alhamdulillah, things have adjusted. But, sometimes you gotta study Islam properly. This Facebook education stuff is just, I don't know. Facebook user says, do you have to pray istikhara for every dua, or should we pray 2 rak'ah and say the istikhara dua and mention all the 6 du'as in it? You don't have to do either of them. You don't have to do either of them. The one that I do when I'm trying to make a big dua, and I'm like, because I take my du'as very seriously, I'm going to be on whether I should include something so big that I should be asking for this, and I do istikhara per dua. That's what I do. You don't have to do it. I just find that it helps me get clarity on whether I should be so serious about this specific dua or not, and a lot of my duas don't pass that test. What type of ibadah do you recommend for last 10 nights of dhikr, such as dhikr, the last 10 nights such as dhikr and salah? So I don't recommend anything in particular other than you've got like the standard stuff. So there's the tarawih, right? So you're praying at night. You've got the recitation of the Quran. You could do that without praying. You can sit down and recite. You can do dhikr, of course, as you said. You are dua, of course, as well. If you can give charity in the last 10 nights, that's obviously something very good. Maybe you can do it online. If you are making dua for other people, that's also good. I think what you're trying to allude to is something like, what about Salatul Tasbih, right? Is there some special prayer that you do? And I would say, no, I don't recommend. Like, you don't have to do those things. You don't have to do those things. Obviously, there's difference of opinion about Salatul Tasbih, and inshallah ta'ala, it's okay, but it's not saying that, oh, in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, you should do Salatul Tasbih because it's, you know what I mean? So I don't got anything like out of my pocket. There's just something special to do that nobody knows about, kind of thing. There's 1 more minute. Here we go, Maham. Yours is the last one. Are we allowed to make dua in sujood during fard namaz? Also, should we make dua in every sujood? So the Prophet ﷺ said that the closest the slave of Allah is to his Lord is when he's in sajda. So the likelihood of their dua being answered faster, quicker, is more in sajda. So that's what you want to do, is when you're in sajda, to take advantage. And is actually the Prophet, we should make dua in sajda. So now is this only for people making dua in sajda in Arabic, or can people make dua in their own language in sajda? So a lot of scholars say that no, it must be in your own language, in Arabic, because it's prayer and so on. Some will say, well, fard salah, you can do it, you have to do it in Arabic, and in nafil prayers, sunnah prayers, you can do it in your own language. And then other people will say that no, you can do it in your own language in any prayer. There's no distinction between fard and nafil. My opinion is that third one, based on the fact that I've asked this question to many scholars. Every time I get somebody doing a bonus for Visionaire and they're talking about dua, they're answering questions, I always ask them this question. All the students will be there. And I'm like, can you make dua in your own language in sajda? Sheikh after sheikh. I've actually never what I've concluded in Allah Knows Best is yes, you can make dua in your own language in sajda. If you don't feel comfortable doing that and you don't want to do it, you want to go with that opinion that says, no, you can't do it, no problem. Make dua in your own language after salah. Simple as that. But you'll see that, the issue right there is that, because you don't know Arabic, you're not allowed to do sajda. That's the thing with that opinion that I've got a problem with. That is it only Arabic speaking people that can make dua in sajda and nobody else has access to it? I don't believe that. I think everybody can make dua in sajda, even if it's in their own language. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And that's it. We are done. Jazakallah khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Tomorrow is the 21st night of Ramadan. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll still continue with these Taraweeh truffles. We'll see how it goes. If it's a little bit, you know what, if the emotions feel and nobody shows up and everything like that, then no worries. We'll tap out until the end of Ramadan. But if you guys still show up and are still benefiting, then we'll continue. I appreciate doing the Taraweeh truffles because I get a chance to go through some verses and read some tafsir. And if I didn't do the truffles, I might not put in that attention to reading tafsir like that. So I appreciate it as well. جزاك الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.